Aloha and welcome to the Embodied Healing Self podcast with your host, Jen Mons. Each week, join me for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around embodied healing and awakening to your soul's purpose. Thank you for listening in. Aloha and welcome back to the Embodied Healing Self podcast. Thank you again so much for joining me again, my sweet podcast family. I love you. I adore you. I hear you. And if you have any other topics that you haven't heard on the show yet that you're interested in, send me a message, an idea. If you have a speaker that you love, send me their name and we'll see if we can get them on the show. So I want to talk about a topic today that is very near and dear to my heart. I want to talk about what it means to be fiercely feminine. You're going to hear a lot of talk and words, especially probably more in the holistic or spiritual community, about healing the divine feminine. I've been in this energy for a couple of years. I have my Ancient Alchemy of the Divine Feminine retreat in Peru coming up, and I am very much in love with this work. It has been an intense part of my own healing process. And I want to invite you just to consider with me today, come on a journey with me, stepping into the curiosity of what it actually means to be in our own feminine energy. And this is for men and women, by the way. And maybe become more curious about the healthy balance of that energy and what that means. I'm a woman. I am the mother of 2 daughters. I have a very sweet and nurturing husband who is very much in his healthy masculine, and quite honestly, for the most part of our time together, which has been 22 years now, he has been a teacher for me in more of the energy of the feminine, as in nurturing and guidance and joy and receiving. So this show is for you if you are a woman who wants to show up and do her best, who knows she's here for a purpose, wants to create something amazing, wants to be strong and fierce and nurturing all at the same time. What does that look like? What does that mean? What does the healthy divine feminine mean? What are the different feminine archetypes? Why do they matter? Do we all have them? And what are the shadows of each archetype? That's what we're going to dive into today. I'm pretty passionate about this topic, as this has been one of my probably deepest core wounds in my own personal life. And I tend to attract women that are struggling with the same attachment to their role and identity of how they see themselves as a woman and what it means to be a strong and confident woman and what it doesn't mean. Many of the women that I have worked with over the past 11 years of coaching have been extraordinary, amazing, accomplished, successful, giving, loving, nurturing women. All the things. Whether it was in the way that they consciously parented their children and went above and beyond in many ways, or in their own thriving business, whatever that was, or whether it was through their college education and becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a Navy jet fighter pilot. I've had the pleasure of working with all types of women. And we are in a time where we're being invited to really take a step back and think about how we want to show up. So I was born in 1977. I am in the generation of women who I can remember when I was in high school in the 90s, just the idea that women couldn't really fly jets, it was mind-boggling to me. I was just like, well, why not? Why can't we do everything that men can do? Because we can do it, you're just not letting us. So keep in mind that some of you are going to be a little bit younger and some of you may be a little bit older. And a lot of our beliefs have to come with what we've experienced, what we've been through. And that is how our beliefs have formed. So I just want to take a minute to sit in my deepest gratitude for everything that the women that came before me endured and went through so that I could have the experiences that I did. And as I move forward, and I want to invite each of you listening to do the same, as we move forward as parents, as teachers for this next generation of women who is listening as the community, if we as women can come together in community to be teachers of wisdom, if we can do it from love and not from our wounds, the world is going to be a better place. And that's what we need. If we can parent from our gifts and not our wounds, if we can teach from that place, if we can lead from that place, if we can collaborate from that place, because there are a lot of deep wounds in the feminine and in sisterhood. And I'm going to talk about some of those today. I'm the mother of 2 daughters. I have a 15-year-old and a 12-year-old now, and this is still happening, and it's more important than ever. I am now witnessing the incredible energy of healthy masculine stepping forward and helping the feminine to heal before all of the women are ready and willing to support the energy of this. So this episode is really about inviting you through information and experience to just notice, what role do you want to play in this? What do you notice about yourself? You may or may not be able to relate to everything that I share because we've all had different experiences. Maybe not the experience in itself, but maybe the feeling. Was there ever a time in your life, depending on what generation you were born into, where you struggled with your worth as a woman? I know I did for most of my life. And struggling with my worth as a woman, I didn't really even think of it consciously that way because it was more about like proving myself as a woman, but there's nothing to prove. But I thought that there was. I can remember being the only girl on a baseball team. You told me I couldn't play baseball. Softball was for girls. I played baseball. I was the only girl on my hockey team. I was the only girl on my soccer team. I could have played on a girls' team, but I played on the boys' team because I just had this desire to prove my self-worth as a woman. I didn't want to believe, and I didn't believe that I was anything less because I was a woman. And now it's so interesting. If you look at these young girls coming in, they already know that. They know that they are worthy as women, if not more, because of the foundation and the work that we have done before them. That then led me to go to a military academy with 7% women, and I enrolled in 1995. Well, the first woman graduated in 1979, and so here we are, 25 years later after I went in, and it had been less than 20 years since the first woman was enrolled, and not a lot has changed. It's changing very, very slowly. 20 years is a long time in my life, in your life, in a woman's life, but not a long time in the history of change. Think about that. Think about all the changes that women have gone through. It takes a community, a tribe, to create big changes in the world. Doesn't it? Just think about that for a second. So it begins with us. How we want to be treated is how we show up, the energy that we hold. That's how we're going to be treated. If we want to be looked at and held and embodied in our worth, then we have to know it. It has nothing to do with how we look. It doesn't have anything to do with our performance. It doesn't have anything to do with our results or how much money we make. And quite honestly, we are in a system where we're still trying to own our worth in some of that. In other words, women still do get paid less than men. I graduated a military academy as a mechanical engineer, and I knew I got paid less than all my male counterparts. And when I asked my boss why, his response was, well, women typically take maternity leave, and that costs the company money. Oh, okay. You mean we get to have children for our families. And we are entering a new world. What I have seen in my generation is that we were very much the generation of still proving we could do everything that men could do. And so we have. Now a lot of my friends are the breadwinners. They're doctors and lawyers. and having kids. And so now what? Now we've done it all. And are we happy? Are you happy? You're highly educated, making great money, and you have kids. Are you spending the time that you want with your kids? Is that what you wanted? But we're stepping into a new time. You can create what you want. This whole pandemic is showing us that. And some of us knew this before the pandemic. We were already aligned with creating what we wanted intentionally, stepping out of the conforms and structures of corporate America or other forms of structures that we've been living under the illusion of. I am witnessing more and more men and women stepping into trust, figuring out what they want, and creating the life first, the life of their dreams, followed by the career or dream that they hold true. Not from a place of scarcity, like I learned. I can remember I was going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer because I needed to make money and I needed to provide, and I could. I was lucky that I was living in a time where women could do that. You know what? I got an engineering degree. It did not make me happy, and I certainly didn't make any more money working corporate. I make way more money than I do now doing what I love than I did for corporate America, working with women. So what does it mean to be fiercely feminine? What are the qualities of the feminine? The qualities of the feminine include intuition, nourishment, connection, receiving, creativity, joy, grace, flow, softness, growth. You think about the qualities of the sacral chakra, the sacral womb, all of those qualities exist within that. Abundance, prosperity, thriving and growth, right? Like you think about the fact that we have babies and immediately we can nurse them with breast milk. Like that's just natural abundance. Our body's aligned with that. Our feminine energy is aligned with the energy of abundance, but it's all about receiving and allowing. And so what are some of the unhealthy qualities that we've been living in? Hustle, grinding, proving, competition, comparison. Those are some of the unhealthy qualities of the feminine. And so it might sound like I'm being a little bit judgmental. I'm not making it right or wrong. I'm just noticing what has come up. Exclusion, right? I mean, I've got a middle school and a high school girl now. It's still happening. Remember middle school, remember high school. There's a lot of wounding around sisterhood when it comes to division, what makes us different when actually we're more alike than we are different. So I want to invite you just to think back and reflect on your life, noticing your relationship to the feminine. Usually starts with mom. And just noticing what is your relationship to the feminine. What is your belief around that? Who was there or who was not there to help you heal your relationship with becoming a woman? What are the qualities of the feminine that are easy for you? What are the qualities that you struggle with? What core wound do you notice around the feminine, and how has it showed up in your life? What are the survival strategies that you've created that have impacted your relationships with the people in your life? Might have had to do with mom or a sister or a friend. Is there a relationship in your life around the feminine that needs healing? Is there someone that you need to forgive? Maybe there was a mean girl in middle school. Maybe something was said to you about your body image, or maybe you were kicked out of a tribe. right? These things still happen even as adults. I mean, it's crazy, but it happens. Like, women are still rejecting and kicking out, and, that still happens. We think about the history of true nations and tribes of the indigenous people, and they were very matriarchal. And so how did that become broken? When did it stop that the feminine matriarch was the center, was the tree of life, and the knowledge and the wisdom keepers? And so somehow that started to change. And so just reflecting in your own life, like, how did this show up for you? What is your relationship to the feminine and mom and sisters and friendships? What is the core belief or wound that shows up around that? What are the different type of archetypes? So we've got, when we're younger, right, we have a certain personality. We have the maiden who's super playful, super curious, always wanting to have fun. And then sometimes, at some point in time, she learns that maybe it's not safe to be fun and curious and even flirtatious. I know I did. You can't be that way at a military academy. It's not safe. That was my belief. That's true. Some raw truth here. And after that, we have the years of, growing into being a woman. So the Venus archetype, where we really start to embody ourselves as sexual beings, as beautiful women. And, our bodies start to change. And then we become the mother energy, where we become mothers, we become nurturing. And even if we don't become physical mothers, maybe we have pets, maybe we have nieces and nephews. Maybe we're mother to the earth, but we have this mother energy that comes to us. And we also have our Kali energy, our Kali archetype, our shadow archetype and work, the part that sometimes we judge or we don't lean into, the part of us that's rebellious or experiences anger or wants to reject or resist, the part of us that wants to be selfish, right? That shadow work that we can lean into, which includes our core wounds. And then we have the crone energy that we eventually, in the later part of our life, that we step into, the wisdom. And so just noticing for a moment, where are you? What archetype phase of your life are you in now? What are you welcoming in? What are your beliefs around each of the archetypes? What are your beliefs about your body? What are your beliefs about how you show up as a woman? What's available to you? How is that shifting? Is it shifting for you? One of the biggest patterns that I see that we're breaking right now, and I love the work of Kate Northrup. She was on my podcast, episode 51, Cyclical Living. She really encourages us to connect with the egg wisdom. Cyclical living and planning. Her book, Do Less, is amazing. I love it. It's been a staple for me. I use her planner. I plan cyclically, seasonally. I run my own business now. I live in prosperity and abundance and creativity after shifting from engineer, logical, structure, grinding, hustling. I have to do this, create this, plan this, do the funnel, do the marketing, la-da-da. No, that was just not in alignment for me, because I'm here to heal that part of my own divine feminine. Because the truth is that for a great part of my life, I actually subconsciously resented being a woman, because I found that it made things difficult. I found that it made things that there was more resistance that I had to come across. I've been fired. I was fired off of a ship for being a woman. I've definitely been mistreated in more than one way, many, many times, and couldn't really be true to myself, because my true self wanted to be playful and fun and got voted best sense of humor in high school. Then all of a sudden you can't do that when there's 7% women, or you're the only woman on a ship. So I know many of you can't relate to that, but maybe you're in another masculine profession, maybe the media or the medical system or as a lawyer, but still there are many systems in this country, in the world, that are very paternal, very patriarchal. And so it's important to also notice your relationship with the masculine in order to heal the feminine. So what does it mean to be fiercely feminine? Well, I've completely reframed that whole idea. I've completely rewritten it. Whereas I used to be from a place of, well, I can do everything a man can do and have babies. Well, that didn't really work out that easily for me because I had an extremely life-threatening birth experience. But I no longer need to prove myself. I actually know my worth as a woman. My ability to create a human inside my body was a total miracle and an act of surrender. That was probably the biggest eye-opening experience for me. So fiercely feminine doesn't mean fierce in the way that I used to think it did. It doesn't mean doing, hustling, grinding, proving myself, being a badass, being super strong and doing all the things. It actually means surrender. It's the opposite. Being fiercely feminine is an act of surrender. It's taking a step back, allowing myself to be nourished by the earth, by love, by light, by food, by relationships. Allowing myself to be like part of the garden, just growing and nurtured. Witnessing the world around me as if I was Mother Earth, witnessing the seasonal changes, witnessing the change of the lunar cycle. I'm witnessing the changes around me. And I'm taking a step forward from a place of nourished alignment. Before I take action, I ask myself, is this in alignment with me? Is it the right time? Does it have to be me? And then I open to receive. I let go of attachment and I open to receive. I can remember, I've done a lot of work around this. That's how I can speak to this through an organization called CORE. Again, I recommend coreexperience.com. I recorded with the founder on my podcast, and somewhere in the episodes of the 30s, you'll hear me speak about it a lot. But I attended a Radiant Woman, it's what's called Radiant Woman Retreat, in June of 2019, and my roommate was Stacey Morgenstern, who is the co-founder of the Health Coach Institute. And she in person is just the sweetest. I mean, I remember saying to her, I'm here to really figure out what a healthy feminine is. She's like, oh, well, what do you think it is? I said, I don't know, but when I figure it out, I'll let you know. And so through the course of the weekend, healthy feminine wasn't being strong. This retreat was staffed by men holding space for us for our personal healing, which takes a huge act of surrender. And what I notice is that my survival strategies really come out. It's kind of funny to say, but what came out of me is I want to prove that I'm tough and I'm not afraid of you and I'm going to kick your ass. You're a guy and I'm not afraid of you, because so many times I had to protect myself. I mean, you guys, I was traveling around the world as the only woman on a ship when I was 18, 19, and 20. And I wasn't a boyish looking girl. So I had to have my guard up the whole time. So what did that do? That just made me not trust any men. And I never felt safe. So the minute I'm in the presence of a bunch of men and this guard came up, I'm like, well, I can kick your butt and I can take you down and I don't trust you and la da 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 da. Okay, so that's what's happening. And the poor guy's standing on the the end of this conversation, he had no idea what was coming to him. Anyhow, fast forward the end of the weekend, as I'm witnessing my beautiful roommate, she's just, first of all, she didn't even tell me. I had no idea she was super successful, the owner of the Health Coach Institute, which is not a small thing. And, she was just very vulnerable and sweet and loving and a good listener the whole weekend. And at the end of the weekend, I just remember not knowing any of that about her and just saying, you have the qualities of a healthy feminine. I could just see it in her. And later found out that she was co-founder of the Health Coach Institute, and she never told me. She knew I was a health coach and never told me, and I just thought she was so humble and so graceful. And she is willing to come on the show, so I can't wait to have her on the show. She's an incredible human being, and she's just amazing. So what I learned is, for me, what was being represented and what I've been learning is that the healthy feminine is not the doer, it is the beer. It is the teacher who stands back and witnesses, that doesn't speak, but allows space for change. That's called grace. when you allow grace, when you let go of the attachment, the need to control, the need to hustle and grind, and you step back and you open up to grace, to source, to God, to whatever that is for you. For me, it's God, which I say grace because it's the feminine energy. Open up to receive. Allow yourself to be in the magical flow of life. The feminine flow is cyclical. The masculine is a structure. We live in a very masculine world, and we need that. We need structure. It helps us to feel safe. It helps us to take aligned action and get things done. It helps us to feel organized. It helps to get things done. So it does take a balance. But for all my ladies listening on the show today, I want to invite you to just reflect and think about your relationship with your feminine qualities within you. Think about what you might be willing to give space to, what you might be willing to let go of, which archetype you identify with right now, which one needs more attention. If you haven't spent a lot of time in yourself as Venus or as the crone or as the maiden, if you haven't had enough fun, if you haven't allowed yourself to feel sexy, all the things, spend time with her. Give yourself permission and grace to live more in the flow of life. I gotta tell you guys, I've been coaching women for a long time, and my healthy masculine comes in. It helps me to run a business. I have a team. I don't buy into the coaching industry's expectation of you have to do this, 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 and this, and this, and this, and this. I take aligned action from a place of intention. I give myself permission to allow things to take longer than I think they're going to. Sometimes I have to do things over. Sometimes I get distracted by my busyness, which is out of alignment. But I am more prosperous and abundant with time, with money, with love and support than I ever have been. And I read the quote the other day, I can't remember where, but it said, rich people make money, wealthy people have time. And I am realizing that true prosperity for me as a love language of quality time is all about time. It's having choice. But making this choice has brought me even more amazing clients. This year, I had the intention of not doing private coaching anymore. And as soon as I did that, I had 2 clarity calls within 2 days with 2 extraordinary women that I get to work with this year. And I'm so glad I said yes. It's such an abundant way. We have our group coaching, our collective. We come together, we collaborate, expand, and grow together. It's just beautiful. And if you think back in the day, the matriarchal tribes, that's what we did. There was the woman who taught the children to garden, the woman who taught the children to sew, the medicine woman, the leader, the wisdom keeper. When did we stop living in community? When did we stop living as a tribe? When did we start thinking we had to do it all? That is not fiercely feminine, doing it all. It's overrated and it's an old paradigm. So I'm going to invite you to let it go. Find yourself a coach, find yourself some support, find yourself a tribe that's going to allow you to express this, because the truth is underneath, you don't really want to do it all. You don't. I'm betting you don't really want to do it all. You actually want somebody else to do it for you. You don't want to take care of everybody and everything. You're wearing that as a badge of honor that is not a badge of honor. It's a badge of exhaustion and overwhelm and perfectionism. And I'm going to invite you to just get really clear on, where did this come from? Are you willing to let go of it? Because for some of us, it's hard to let go of, because we've identified with it for so long. It's been such an amazing survivor strategy. It's led us to accomplish amazing things that it's hard to think about letting go of it. But I'm telling you, on the other side is freedom. freedom and liberation and abundance and prosperity and joy and peace and health and well-being, sisterhood, connection, community. So if any of this sounds good to you and you don't have this, send me a message. Check out what I have to offer. It may or may not be a good fit for you. We have the North Star Collective. We have the Embodied Soul Coaching Academy. Because it's not about each of us as an individual, but all of us as a community. When we heal ourselves, we heal the planet. When we come together and support one another in sisterhood and brotherhood, they're here for us too. They've been waiting for us to show up in this energy, to tell you the truth. They were tired of being the breadwinners a long time ago. They wanted to be equal and balanced. They want to spend time with their kids. They want to love us and nurture us. They want to make dinner too. Let them. Give yourself permission. Let go and let God. Let go and let grace. All right, my lovies, thank you so much for listening in. I'd love to hear how this landed for you. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Aloha. Hello, friends, and thank you so much for joining me today and being a part of this community. I know there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and I am deeply honored that you chose to listen in and be present with me today. I love and cherish and appreciate you, and I want to invite you to join our tribe and Facebook group under jenmons.com/connect. I would also love to gift you your guide to discovering and overcoming the self-limiting beliefs standing in the way of you living in optimal health, more energy, fulfillment, and self-confidence to create an embodied, healthy, whole you. You can find this at jenmons.com/tribe. I also have one small request to help spread the love. In order for this podcast to show up in the feed of social media platforms of other like-minded people, we need reviews. So please head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review. You will also find other inspiring episodes on that page. So I personally read these reviews weekly and would love to give you a shout out and share your kind words with our listeners. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as Jen Mons or The Holistic Coach with the W Holistic and Jen Mons, JenMons.com. Thank you so much and have an amazing day. Aloha.